Hello everyone and welcome to a heads up weather for the Ozarks. This is a winter weather video with a storm shaping up in the central U.S. that will definitely impact portions of the Ozarks with ice and snow. And this will begin tonight and go through Saturday night. We'll start off by looking at the infrared satellite, and if we do that here on this Saturday afternoon, you can definitely see a storm beginning to wrap up and take shape here over the Rockies, this area right here. Very fast winds coming in on the base of that, as you can see by the clouds streaming pretty fast and on into this circulation here, which is centered roughly right about there. So, a lot of times when the Ozarks see winter storms, they actually come out of this direction. This one's coming more out of the due west. And that will have implications as to where the snow and ice will lay down. You'll see the forecast maps here in a minute, and that's exactly what they're going to do. But anyway, that's the general setup. We have moisture coming back from the Gulf, as we always do. And I'll get a more detailed look here. Here's a visible satellite loop. Couple of features to note. We have this high cloudiness that's just kind of streaming over the top of all of this. This in and of itself is just indicative of a developing storm, not really producing anything in precipitation-wise, at least not yet. And if you look closely, there's a cloud deck underneath. See, this is the edge of a fog bank that actually extends much through Kansas. And that's because the winds at the surface are doing an upslope, so they're coming in from this direction here and rising and basically producing a cloud at the surface, which is what fog is. If you take a look at the current reports of precipitation, fog is indicated by 2 lines like that. If it's thicker, it's 3 lines. But a lot of fog reports in Kansas. I don't see any precipitation reports. Maybe a little bit of freezing rain right there, freezing drizzle, and it looked like maybe a snow report up there around Warrensburg. But this is all very, very light to start with early on this Saturday afternoon. It will ramp up, of course, by later on tonight and tomorrow. On the surface, though, we have kind of an extension of a cold, high-pressure ridge, which has temperatures below 0 in Minnesota and Wisconsin and the Dakotas, but that extends down into the deep south. And temperatures in the state are below freezing just about everywhere except the extreme southeast corner of Missouri still. It's still 32 degrees. It looks like 32 at Cape Girardeau and 32 at Sikeston as well, 32 over in Joplin. There's a warm front down to our south. There's also a trough of low pressure right here, and a lot of the precipitation is going to form basically on this side of that trough, at least initially tonight, and then spread with this warm front advancing on us tonight. It's going to spread all over the Ozarks. So let's get right to it. We're using the North American model to delineate precipitation type. This is what it's expected to look like at 6 p.m. tonight. And you will see a couple of interesting things going on here. First of all, the bulk of the precipitation is going to be up to our north here. And the color coding on this is that this is sleet, the purple color. This is the model saying it's going to be a freezing rain, that kind of orange color, and then the blue is snow. And here's Springfield right here, the star, of course. Very light precipitation at first, and the bulk of it is north and northeast of Springfield. And now as we advance the map here, I want to show you, before I do that, what the sounding for Springfield looks like tonight at 6 p.m. So a sounding is just a profile of the verticals. So how is temperature and moisture and wind changing as you go straight up over a point? In this case, it's Springfield. And this is really very important for precipitation type. And we're not getting into a lot of technical details. This line right here is the freezing line. Why it's slanted is another video. But what you can see here is the temperature line. There's a large portion of the lower atmosphere that is going to be above freezing. So that will basically be rain when and if precipitation develops at this location. The temperature is 33 degrees at 6 p.m. So that's just barely above the criteria for rain to hit the surface and freeze, which is the very definition of freezing rain. So that's why this is, these forecasts, especially when you're right on a line like this, can be very, very tricky. But with a low developing, it looks like warm air will at least, the temperatures won't fall at night like they typically do. They will fall, but not like they would on a cloudy or on a clear, cool night, for instance, with no wind. So that's one thing to look at. Now let's advance to midnight Saturday, and you'll notice that the precipitation is breaking out with a little more fervor here to the north and east of us. The ice band has expanded a little bit. In particular, note east and just northeast of Springfield is where that's located. Again, sleet and snow up to the north. Now I'm going to change gears and show you a sounding. This is near Ava. These are all modeled. So this isn't actually measured by a balloon like a typical sounding. When these are forecast soundings, and when you see NAM in front of that, that NAM is a forecast model. So it's just so you know, no one's out there in Ava launching actual sampling balloons at 3 a.m. But I do want to show you the critical difference here. Still the same deep warm layer here, so this is still going to fall initially as rain, but the temperature forecast out there is going to be just below freezing at about 30 or 31 degrees. That's all it takes. And so you can see the challenge that forecasters are up against on where to draw these lines. The rain is basically the same. It's what happens to it in the lower, 1,000 feet or maybe a few more that makes a big difference as to what kind of precipitation you're going to get. Anyway, we'll keep looking at the NAM here. This is 6 a.m. Sunday. The bulk of the heavier precipitation has actually been advected to the north, and some more rain will start breaking out. We're definitely in the warm sector of this developing low here near Oklahoma City, meaning we have south to southeast winds here. And it's not beach weather, but it is the warm side of the storm, but an extensive winter precipitation shield with this particular storm. We'll advance one more frame and it moves off to around Memphis. There's a little bit of an occlusion, meaning there's a back low here, and a lot of just snow on the back edge of this by 6 p.m. Sunday, with winds gusting over 20 miles per hour, probably 30 miles per hour there for a little bit. So if we look at what the snow totals are, this is a blend of the models. So we can do this in different ways. We can look at individual model output. We can look at a blend of all the models. We can also look at what the National Weather Service forecasters and all of their discussions and interpolations look like. In this case, I just used a blend of models. Springfield at the back edge of this system, maybe an inch or two of snow. Maybe that would be late Sunday into Sunday evening, maybe early Monday morning even. Certainly you can see that the heaviest is going to be to the north of us, anywhere from Salina, right along I-70, Salina, over to just north of Kansas City, St. Joe, maybe a foot of snow in some of those areas. And of course, that's going to continue to head on east. So if you're traveling northeast or north or northwest, you're going to run into this snow band over the next couple of days. So exercise some caution. As far as the ice is concerned, there are two areas. Remember I told you about that trough? So that's going to tend to focus some lighter precipitation up to the northwest and west of us tonight, with maybe 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of ice accumulating in some of those areas in Kansas. Then the emphasis shifts tonight and early tomorrow to areas off to our north, northeast, and east, with maybe 1/3 of an inch of ice accumulating, especially as you go more into extreme southeast Missouri. That starts late tonight and goes through tomorrow. And so if you're traveling in Springfield tonight, there's going to be some very, very light precipitation breaking out. The temperature should stay above freezing, probably not a travel concern. If you're going north or even east in a half hour or more, some of that could freeze later on tonight especially. Thankfully, it's not a time when most people are traveling. That's good. And on Sunday morning, it'll be going pretty strong, especially in areas east of the city of Springfield. Again, thankfully, in most cases, we're not really, work and school are not in their active modes on Sunday morning. So, exercise caution, of course, but as far as that hitting during a traditional rush hour, thankfully, that's not going to happen. The wind chills are going to get pretty cold. Midnight on Sunday, we have a wind chill to 4 here in Springfield, with maybe dipping below freezing a couple of times as those winds gust up. Here are the advisories. The ice storm warning is in effect here from just east of Springfield, Wright and Webster counties, on eastward through Houston and on over to Cape Girardeau, with the winter storm warning for a mixture of sleet, snow, and maybe a little ice to the north of us, starting at Bolivar and Lebanon going north. And then again, we're in the warm sector down here, so while it won't be pleasant, it will not be a major winter storm for those areas. The temperatures by Wednesday morning will plummet. We see a large below zero area here through Kansas. I think if the snow lays down the way it's forecast to, I can probably see some sub-zero readings in Kansas City and central and northern Missouri too. We're at 11 here. I would shave a few degrees off that probably by Wednesday morning, since the center of that high is going to be right over us and the sky should clear, and we may have snow on the ground. So I would probably send that low there. That's a model. That's a blend of models. Yeah, I would probably put that in the upper single digits, maybe around 8 for a low on Wednesday morning. That seems a little more reasonable. And here's one more thing I'll talk about tonight. This is the GFS precipitation type. Now we're fast forwarding all the way to 9 p.m. Thursday. And this is getting way out there, but this is one of those patterns. These are one of these little sleeper snows you have to kind of watch out for if the pattern holds up. This is not a snowstorm by any stretch of the imagination, but this is actually beginning to show up more and more on the models as a light band of snow, which could accumulate an inch or two as it moves through. The current forecast would indicate that would be Thursday night and Friday morning before it exits, and you'll notice there's ice accumulating down to the south. This cold air is so extensive it goes all the way down into Texas, so those folks are going to have to watch out for that precipitation event as well. I have 2 video streams that go out. I have this, which is heads up weather for the Ozarks, where I focus in more on where I used to broadcast television and forecast the weather for many years. And then if you switch over to weather to watch, that's a more national view. So if you want to know what's going on with that storm down to the south later on this week, you'd probably want to watch that video stream as well. Having said that, thank you for watching. I'll have another update for the local folks here probably tomorrow morning, Sunday morning. And if you like what you see, remember to check out my channel. I do more than weather, all kinds of interesting hobbies. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you think of it. Thank you. Be safe out there and have a good rest of your day.